So when we look in the Bible, we can get a better understanding of what's going on. Now, when we look at what God said about Lucifer, what the Bible says about Lucifer, it says that he wanted to be like the Most High. So we have to understand that everything that God is going to do and has done, Satan, the adversary, is going to have a counterfeit, a mimic to what God is doing. And we even see this talked about in 2 Corinthians when it says that Satan masquerades as an angel of light, and his ministers are ministers of righteousness. So the reason that Satan's ministers are ministers of righteousness is because they're mimicking the true light. But there's deception in there, right? It's because how can Satan's ministers be ministers of righteousness? Well, it's because they're mimicking the light, but they're counterfeiting it, and they're throwing in delusion as well. So everything that God does, Satan has a counterfeit. There's all these options that Satan will have, right? And to me, once you figure out the world that we're living in, okay, you understand that all the presidents are connected, that they're all cousins, that they all come from the same secret societies, like the Skull and Bones. Once you figure out that all these wars have been started on lies, false flag attacks, like 2001, 9/11, that was just probably done by our own government or governments. Behind the scenes, they're all one world order anyways. They're already connected. All of these governments, most of them, the big ones. And, once you realize what the world is, that we've all been lied to from the school system, from the government system, from the medical system, from the religious system, they're all one entity. That's what you have to realize, is that they're all one entity. They're all connected. And, the saying is follow the money. You got to think, like, who funds these humongous buildings that Christianity has? Who funds all this stuff? Who funds the millions, if not, well, probably millions of Bibles even? Who funds these things? And it's the powers that be. It's not people who are trying to get out the truth to you. Because the people who are usually trying to get out the real truth to you don't have all that money, But even there's infiltrators in the truth movement also, easily. So they're all connected, one entity, a one world system is already in play. The only thing that is being done now is that they are trying to get the people mixed in, the same mindset, right? Like it's a good idea for this one world idea, right? And it gets very complicated down the road, so I'm not going to go too far into that. But what I want to do to address in this video is the idea of what is fighting for first in my mind as far as the strongest delusion right now. Because all of this is a delusion. And if you just read the Bible, you'll know that it says that Satan is the god of this world. I mean, right there. Like 2 Corinthians 4:4, Satan is the god of this world, small g, of course. So right there you go, right? But then you have Revelation 12:9 that says that he deceives the whole world, okay? You have, like, Psalm chapter 2 says that the kings of the earth and the rulers thereof take counsel against the Lord and his anointed. You just look at the story of Jesus in the Bible, and the religious system was connected with the secular Roman system. Because the Jews at the time took Jesus to the Romans to have him killed. And they did. So there were a one world connection there already anyways. Right? This idea of everything being, separated like church and state and everything, that's a lie. That's just what they tell people. Right? It's just so many lies to go over. But in my mind, there's this battle between which is the stronger delusion. Whether we've been lied to about the shape and the entire idea of cosmology, what we're on, where we're at, or that in 1948 the nation of Israel was actually gathered. Okay, which one is bigger? I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. But as you know, that a ball does not have water sitting on it perfectly. It's impossible, especially when it's flying through outer space, which is made up at 500,000 miles an hour, and then it's also turning on its axis at over 1,000 miles an hour, and then it's also circling the sun at 66.6 thousand miles an hour. Interesting numbers there. All these hundreds of miles an hour speed. We can't feel it. We can't see it. It doesn't make any scientific sense for water to be sticking to a ball like this, and we can't prove it in a laboratory. It's all made up BS. Okay? All of it. Earth is stationary. It's not moving. It's flat, at least on the top, and there's a dome over it, like an eyeball or like a womb. And the Bible calls this dome the firmament. And we're on there, and up is up, and down is down. And that way is that way, and that way is that way. Why do I say that? Because if you're on a ball spinning all day, there is no real up. Like, there's no up. There's no, which way is down? Which way is up? There's not. It doesn't make any sense. So that's a big one, right? And of course, this lie was predicated on the idea to make people forget about God and not believe in God and think that we came from a random explosion that came from nothing, and to make people not see the actual intelligence behind design. That's why. Because again, if we're on this stationary earth that isn't moving, that on the top it's flat at least, it's covered with dome, right? There's obviously intelligence behind design. And if they told the truth about other things in science, then obviously there has to be a mind behind it. But they don't want the masses of people knowing that. So that's a strong delusion, right? But second on the list, or first, I'm not sure yet, is that 1948 was a regathering of the nation of Israel. Now, when you look at the word nation in the Strong's Concordance, it means ethnos, which is where we get the word ethnicity from. A race of people. That is what a nation is. That is not what they call 1948. They say, and correctly so, that is when the state, not nation, not race, the state of Israel was created. Correct. Yeah, you can say that it was a state. But don't you go be saying it was a nation. Because the race, the bloodline, the ethnos of Jesus is not white European. And this is provable in the book of Revelation. Simple. It's so simple. Revelation chapter 1, verse 15 says that Jesus' skin tone was as brass, fine brass burnt in a furnace. Look at brass and look at when it burns in a furnace, it turns dark brown or black. Second, there's arguments that can be made around all that. Second verse, Revelation 4:3, that Jesus is as sardine stone and jasper. Now, when you look up jasper, there's a few different colors of jasper. None of them would make sense for a skin tone, but there is one most common jasper used, and that is red jasper, which is a deep, deep, dark, dark red. Now, that is the only one that it could possibly be, because sardine stone, or sardius, is only one color, and it's deep, 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 dark red. So, for Jesus to look like sardine stone and jasper, it has to be red jasper, because there's only one color of sardine stone, and it's deep, dark red. Jesus is a very deeply colored man. So how can the people in 1948 be the ethnos, the ethnicity of the race that brought Jesus through. It's impossible. Those are white Europeans. They're Khazarians, all right? They are Ashkenazi. Notice the word Nazi in there. Ashkenazi, okay? They they ain't them, all right? So what has happened is that Lucifer, he has had thousands of years to concoct these ideas, said, I'm going to counterfeit prophecy in the last days. Who created the state of Israel? The United Nations, right? The beast governments, right? And who pushed this idea to the Christians? The satanic, lying people that are set up in Christianity like John Hagee and the 700 Club. They're the ones who kept telling you, oh, this is Israel, this is Israel, this is Israel, right? Because they're all connected, just like Jesus. When Jesus was around, the religious system was connected to the secular system, and they were in one accord. Just like today, the religious system is connected to the secular system, and they're in one accord. And so the United Nations is like, we're going to do this, and we're going to fund our people that we want, that are great speakers, to be the faces of Christianity, and we're going to push this lie. That's how it works. That's what has been done. The United Nations, satanic Luciferian United Nations, is the one who formed the state of Israel. And it's a counterfeit people. It's all counterfeit. This is what Satan has done. He's had thousands of years to think about this. And he says, what is his whole thing about this? He is going to deceive people. That's what he loves to do. He loves to trick people, beguile people, seduce people. What did he do to Eve? The very first idea that we get of Satan, it says that he beguiled Eve. And when you look up the word beguiled, it's seduced. Yes, one of the words you could use is tricked, but more so is seduced. He seduced Eve. Just like Paul says, there will be seducing spirits, doctrines of devils. That's what this is. The doctrines of devils are pushed in the churches, as well as the schools, as well as the government. Satan is the god of this world. Satan is not the god of one thing, small g. His spirit is in everything. And so this is fighting, in my mind, for one of the biggest delusions that we have today. And what does the Bible say? It says that God shall send them a strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So, there's so many octopus arms to this delusion in the last days. Strong delusion. But false cosmology, as well as false prophecy being so-called fulfilled before your eyes. They are manipulating the wars. They manipulated to create the state of Israel, and they have a people who are not them. If you look it up, the Khazarians, the Ashkenazis, the white Europeans from the Caucasus Mountains, they were formed around 1,300 years ago, and they took on the religion of partially Judaism, but along with that came the Kabbalah and the Talmud and all of these other things. That is not the original people. The original people are still scattered amongst the nations, talking about the ethnos of Jesus, the bloodline of Jesus. And they will be regathered in the Great Tribulation, which is coming 2025, 2026. It's going to kick off. I've already shown you many timelines. And there's 3.5 years of that. Not 7, there's 3.5. God divided the 7 years. Jesus was cut off in the midst of the week. Okay? So, again, that's another video. But my whole point to this is that this might be one of the strongest delusions out there right now, other than false cosmology. And is playing a major role in what's going on, because you're going to have a lot of Christians, as they have been, supporting war, right? Warmonger Christians, right? Oh, you want to mess with Israel? Well, we should go and fight them, and we should go and do this. You're a warmonger. You're becoming bloodthirsty like they want you to. That's what they want to do to you. They want you to be a warmonger and bloodthirsty. And the way that they can do that is to make you think that the state of Israel is the ethnos of Israel, which it is not. Okay, so the last thing that I want to explain to you is the Columbus pattern that I've been showing you. The Columbus pattern consists of a mirror of what God did in the BC as to what Satan is doing here in the AD. And again, remember what God said, that Lucifer said, I'll be like the Most High. So everything that God does, Satan is going to counterfeit it, mimic it, and do all these things to deceive people and to do it his way. So what that pattern was is from 1492 AD, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, landed in America, right? And if you go 456 years forward, you land at 1948 when the state of Israel was created. So you have 456 right there, right? Well, the amazing thing about this is that if you go 456 BC, that is when the temple was supposed to be rebuilt, 456 BC. So you see what Lucifer has done, Satan has done. He is mirroring, in a sense, the numbers that God used in the Old Testament. 1492 to 1948 is 456. And that's when the counterfeit was built. 456 BC is when the true Israel built the true temple at that time. Okay, well, the physical temple actually was considered a true temple at that time. Okay, so you have the true in the BC and the counterfeit in the AD. Now the second part to that is if you start again from 1492 Columbus and you go 538 years forward, you come to 2030, the end, right? Which the end is actually 2029, but 2030 is also considered the end. And you have 538 years there. Well, if you go 538 BC, this is when Cyrus freed the Jews. So you have 1492 to 2030 is 538. The true Israel being free with God. And that same number, 538, if you go BC, is when the Jews were freed by Cyrus, you see. So this is what Satan has done. He has mirrored and counterfeited prophecy in a very interesting way. And again, the way that I found this out, I mean, it's just like revelation coming to me. Look this up, and think about this. And this is what has been done. And then another amazing thing is that if you go from 538, and then another amazing thing is that if you go from 538 BC to 1492 AD, Columbus, you have 2030 years, 2030. See that? And so if you go, now that's showing you. So if you go from now, 1492 to 2030, you have 538 years. So again, Satan has had a lot of time to do what he's doing. And again, you have to understand that these people like Columbus and the founding fathers of this nation and this nation in general was created by occultists, people who were pagans, occultists, worshiped themselves and other deities. And that's what this nation is. Under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Well, in America's understanding, the liberty is liberty to sin. That's what it's always been. America started off with slavery, which not normal slavery, but basically, the captivity of a race of people and slaughtered people. And I can go on and on and on. But this country had a destiny from its inception. And it's simply fulfilling that destiny, what they had in mind this whole time. And this pattern has been, from the beginning. It's not a coincidence that Columbus landed here in 1492, and then the numbers match up perfectly with the end times. The state of Israel being counterfeited in 1948, which is the state, not the nation. And then, the end being 2029, 2030, and the years being 538 years from Columbus to that time. And then 538 BC is when the Jews are freed, right? It's all a counterfeit. And this is what has been done. This is how intricate the delusion is in this world, okay? It's very, very deep, and I can only touch on some of it. But this is just what I wanted to share with you guys because, there's a lot of Christians out there who still believe in false cosmology. And there's a lot of Christians out there who still believe that the state of Israel is actually the nation of Israel, and that was prophecy. The only prophecy that was is part of the strong delusion being fulfilled. That's it. Okay? And all this warmongering by Christians, that's what they want. They want you to be bloodthirsty. And, you mess with the Israel, well, now, America's going to back you. This is how they're going to start World War III. Possibly, right? So the world is under strong delusion. Satan deceives the whole world. The Bible says it. Bible says that Satan is a god of this world, small g, and that the world lies in the hands of the wicked one. The wicked one. And that's where we're at. I'm not sure which one is actually the stronger of the delusions, but they're both pretty big.